Hi, everyone, and a very good evening to everybody present here. An absolute pleasure to have so many lovely students joining us today for the weekly career class. We thought of coming up with this topic, which is very, very important today because now, colleges and other places have started taking interviews for your admission process. So it's very important for students to understand what are the tips, techniques, and various other ways in which you can crack interviews, and what are these skills or perhaps knowledge sets that you may need for interview preparation. In this weekly career class organized by iDream Career, we have Mr. George John here today with us. So, Mr. George John holds an experience of 30 plus years, which is a lot in terms of being there in the corporate, handling IT and IT enabled services, and now also working independently as a career counselor with iDream Career and in his own capacity. So, firstly, George, thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure students will have a lot of intake through you. Requesting you to please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to come and talk to students because of what I'm going to say. I've had the best part of my career has been interacting with students. So I'm going to just share my slide here. And Garima, if you could just tell me if it's visible, I'll
Yes.
get started. Is my slide visible?
Yes.
Okay, so I actually went to a class the other day, and I went there, and my after the class I came back, and I my wife asked me how many people were there. So I told them there was one big candle, and there were a medium and a small candle, right? So first she didn't understand, and then she started laughing. You know what I meant? What I meant was the big candle were the students like yourselves. The medium-sized candle were those who got about 5 to 10 or 15 years of experience, and the small candle was those who've got about 20, 25 years of experience. You understand? It's a candle. As you students, all of you join various options in your academics and your work, your life, your whole life is ahead of you, and you are building your career. And therefore, Garima and I, along with the rest of the iDream career, want to wish you well and want to acknowledge the efforts that you're putting in to know more about the career. As you are a full candle, you have a full life ahead. So good job for whatever you're doing. We all want to clap for you and we want to cheer you as you go forward. And I trust that this next 45 minutes of sessions that we'll have will definitely be something that will be profitable for you. So feel free as we get into this topic of how to ace in internships. We'll do a little bit of context and the challenges, followed by some aspects of interviews, ending with certain question answers. So those of you who are on Zoom, feel free to use the chat option to put in your questions, and I'll be happy to take it towards the end. And those of you who are on social media, including YouTube, please put in again the questions, and we'll be more than happy to take them towards the last few minutes of the session. In case there are certain questions that we could not answer, please be reassured that we really want to reach back to you, and you can contact us by email. Okay, if those questions are not answered, the email address will be provided to you right towards the end, so that you can not only reach out to us for questions regarding this topic, but for anything else regarding building your career. Okay, my first question, of course, is why do firms take interns? I've actually worked in multiple firms, and there have been firms which had policies of taking interns and those who did not. And I could just pick up four of the many reasons why interns were required. And as we go forward with the COVID-19 kind of impact that has happened on the industry, we see the opportunities for internships growing in leaps and bounds. The first reason is about the short-term assignments and projects. The company suddenly requires a huge ramp up in their workforce, and they definitely see interns quickly filling in the gap because of the commitment that they have towards working, towards learning, and towards building up. That is my point number two. Point number three is this is a great way of testing potential employees who want to join the organization in the future. It could be a student in high school, or it could be a student in, say, undergraduation year one or year two. Great opportunity for organizations to onboard them and try out. I have a lot of friends who have started startups. You won't believe the group that is really delivering in terms of not only commitment, not only in terms of the volume of work, but most of all the creativity. Are students like yourselves. Every time they come out with something very different that is not the run of the mill, and so they feel always very excited and inspired to take on interns and also provide to them an opportunity to test themselves. Okay, so that is the benefit of firms taking interns. So if they are having, they already have got trained, uh, they quickly ramp up when they are picked up as employees because they already know how to work in an organization. And if they join back the same organization where they had done internship in, definitely it's a win-win situation for the person, the candidate, as well as the organization. Okay, so with that, what we would want to do is to go to our next point. And our next point is about 10 reasons why an internship is important for us. But before we do that, I'd like to request Garima to please generate the poll, and we'd like you to answer a couple of questions and understand what is on your mind when we're talking about this. So here you have the poll questions in front of your screen. There are three questions. We will give you a couple of seconds to answer them. So please take it away. Your time is available to answer these polls. Okay, please answer them so that then we get your responses, because you are actually trying this out and we will actually get to know. Okay, good. Thank you for those who have just answered. Yeah, we're getting answers now. Yeah, I see some of you saying that you've never gone for interviews but hoping to in the future. Good. Okay, can the rest of you please answer and we will close the poll. Okay, another 10 seconds and we will close the poll. Okay, so we see the results now. 100%. Okay, good. So all of you are really aspirants aspiring to go for interviews. Good. What's the most difficult part of obtaining internships? And what I see is it's all of the above. Not only preparing resumes, but searching for options and success in interviews. So what we will be doing today, students, is focusing not on number one, because we had a session earlier on, and we'll probably continue to have more sessions. We'll talk about a little bit of searching for options, and I'll primarily focus on interviews because that is where you come face to face in terms of your selection. Okay. The third question is about one thing that companies mostly require interns for. Yeah, I think so. You've already got this: short-term assignments, future employment, opportunities to learn. Thank you. So that definitely gives us an idea of how important internship is. Okay. With that, let's just look at some reasons why internship is important to students. Right? You would know some of them, but I would just repeat for the sake of just refreshing your understanding. Yeah, the first one is about applying your theoretical knowledge that you got in the university and exploring what careers you will fit in. So if you get into an internship, it is not only what you will be doing as an intern, but also what you'll be observing in the rest of the organization that will help you to understand what is the kind of career that you would like to get into. Yeah, thereby you also gain experience, and when you go for an actual discussion with an organization, you can say, yes, when I was working in so and so company as an intern, these are the things that I did. Number one, number two, number three, in terms of certain results, or maybe some project assignments that you've done. So that definitely helps you to tell those organizations, look, I'm not a novice. I have worked in organizations as an intern. It might be a paid internship or an unpaid, but definitely you go back not only with content in your responses, but also confidence in your voice. Okay, so you also get exposure to industry. Now, what do I mean by industry? Now, if you work in a bank or a financial organization, so banking and financial services could be called an industry, right? Or if you get an opportunity to work in, say, an Amazon or Flipkart, you would call that industry retail. Okay, or if you get into a factory and you work in um, manufacturing of a car or an automobile, that's the manufacturing industry. Yeah, or if you, for example, go to work in a hospital, right, and do an internship there, that's more broadly called as the healthcare industry. So you will definitely have a lot of what we call as industry verticals, and therefore in your internship you get an exposure to an industry as such in terms of how this whole thing works. For example, if my question is, what was the industry that continued to soar and grow in during the pandemic also, while all the other industries took a dip? Okay, what was the industry that grew? I'm sure you would say it was basically the communication industry, right? All the video platforms and the Wi-Fi and the need for communication increased all the more when most of things became online, right? Healthcare could be another one that grew as an industry. So getting to know about industry and getting exposed to various industries is very important as you look at internship. Networking is another one where you are able to connect with the people who are working in that organization, will help you not only to learn from them, but also they could be good reference points for future jobs as you look for them. Okay, so they're going to be good friends for you to support you as part of your network. Yeah, work life balance is another thing where you get to know if you work for say 8 hours versus say 3 hours in college or a school or high school, you will see the difference. I remember my internship days where I used to work for 4 hours and say, अरे यार अब कब खत्म होगा यहाँ से कब निकलेंगे और घर जाके we can play football, right? We used to just wait, go around and wait for that time when our internship period would be over. So you get to know the importance of being in the company, not only from a time point of view, but also in terms of actually delivering certain result. Okay, so you get to know that. Okay, what are the other reasons from a personal point of view? You get to know the politics in the office and also what it means to have a professional approach or an unprofessional approach. Okay, for example, if you ask for leave to someone and say, sir, I have some work and I'd like to take time off. Now, the kind of responses that your manager, your supervisor will give will help you to understand, is he a professional person in trying to respect your requirement, or is he just ignoring you and asking you to talk to HR department or go and unse puch lo, inse puch lo, unse puch lo, so you get into a loop and not knowing what to do. Okay, so you get an exposure there. There are internships that help you to or enable you to go to another city, which gives you an opportunity to travel. Of course, internships are comparatively safe if you look at an employment, and so you get to learn. You're also able to, very important here, point number 9, you start getting to know what you like and what you don't like. For example, a person working as a marketing intern might have to do many other things. And you'll start getting to know, oh, this is something that I like. I like interacting with people. I love to make presentations. I love to do something for social media. And there will be something where I'll say, oh, I just hate. मुझे तो बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं है, करना तो पड़ा, क्या करूं, मुझे तो इंटर्नशिप कराना था ना. But that is how you'll be able to understand what you like and don't like. Last but not the least, you will also be able to get some feedback from the people that you're working with, the supervisor or your colleagues also, and say how you are. For example, if in an interview somebody asks, if a question is, what type of a tree will you choose to represent yourself? Students, are you listening to me? What type of a tree will you choose if you were to represent yourself? Now, that's a question that will bowl you over. It's a tricky question. But if you get feedback from your colleagues, they will tell you you are like a tree that is straight and tall. For example, a straight tree like the pine tree, you will never bend and you will always be clear about your principles. You will always be honest. Yeah. So you can always create a picture and get some communication as feedback from your colleagues or as your supervisor. Okay. So with that, I will just take a pause and again request the next uh, question to come on board. So please look at this question here and let's see what you have to say for these two questions that are there. Try and answer them quickly so that we are able to cover as much distance as possible. So what we're doing is we're doing the poll 4 and poll 5. So let us see how you see. Okay, definitely gaining experience is a very, very important thing, right? You will never lose anything out of internship. I actually helped a student apply to a university abroad for some of the top MBA institutes. And in the 5-year integrated course of Bachelor's in Arts and LLB, she has not even wasted 1 week without an internship. And so her CV was full of multiple internships that were there. So definitely, this gaining experience is important. Okay. So let's wait for the others to come in. Is that part of the academics? Point number 1, yes. Many academic organizations or institutions give marks if you do your internship. Yeah, you get credit points. So definitely that is an area that can be considered. Yeah, definitely point number 3, discover your potential. You get to know what you're good at. Others will tell you what you're good at, and others will say, Rashmi, तुमने कैसे कर दिया इसको? This was so good. And Rashmi would say, Bus, I just got that opportunity, ये तो ऐसे ही हो गया. And there, Rashmi will know this is what she is good at. Okay, discovering potential. Okay, so let's close the poll and see what the answers are. I definitely can see that it's experience that shows the maximum. Yes, 67%. So definitely, you're all right. Experience is definitely the biggest takeaway. And of course, you get to know your potential as well. Yeah, can we do poll 5 also? Karima, have you already done poll 5?
Yeah. So that's displayed right now.
Okay, that's there. Okay, good. So students, can you also do this? This will help us to understand what you think about companies that look for as they select interns. Okay. What do companies mostly look for when they select interns? That's an interesting question. Wow, motivation. Yes, of course. Enthusiasm and energy is always sought after. Match with organization. Yeah, that's probably you might be talking about the cultural fit, right? So that's good. What about qualification and projects undertaken? Past internship. I was talking to an engineering student yesterday, and I asked him, "Beta, what are you looking at when you're looking for an internship?" He said, "Sir, it is not motivation. It is not organization. They just look at whether I can do my programming properly or not. Nothing more, nothing less." Okay, so nothing else. Can this person do coding because he's in engineering in IT and computer science? If he knows coding, give him the internship. Yeah, so many times these questions will also vary from industry to industry. Okay, good. So we view the polls. Yeah, match with organization and motivation. Yeah, my response would be it actually would be the others also. Qualification definitely is important, right? because if you have done projects that are meaningful, the organization considering you for the next internship will also see, aha, is Ramesh, do you think Ramesh is good? Okay, Ramesh has done an internship before, and here you have a Peter who's not done internship before. Everything remaining same, they might prefer Ramesh because Ramesh has already achieved results and demonstrated his ability to complete the work. Okay, so they might prefer those who already done internships. Yeah, so all of this are good important points for you to keep in mind. Okay, so let's just move forward. What we did was about the reasons for internship. And please keep this in mind. These are all important points for you to understand. Okay, this is no rocket science, but this is important. Okay, now if you ask me, sir, out of all everything that you have been exposed to, what is that one thing that would be very important? Students, this is what I will say. We are in a digital age, okay, and there is never a stage where you will say I have done most of the learning that I needed to. Yeah, so what is important is in this age of digital, um, uh, everything digital, reskilling is what I would call. You have to constantly upgrade and update yourself with new skills that would be required to pick up jobs. Okay, what kind of a job? It could be in various industries. You would have to pick up multiple skills. It could be computer skills, it could be people skills, it could be certain skills that you have to do as part of your function. It could be some kind of a creative skill that you have. Not only that, but you also would need to know more about the technologies that you can use. Okay. When I started my career many times back, technology was not so important. It was the industry and the specialization. But now technology is also important. For example, if you talk to a technical person, they will ask, what platforms have you worked on? Okay. If you talk to a healthcare person, they might say, okay, tell us what kind of a medical systems are you familiar with? Okay. So knowledge of the technology is very important also. So all these three are important. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is you can never reach that peak of your skill proficiency. You will not only need to retrain and reskill constantly, you'll also have to accelerate, do it at a fast pace. I remember in Kerala last year, 2020, there was one lady who finished more than 700 hours of online learning within 2 months. Okay, and she was one of the fastest in the industry, always picking up new skills online and learning and getting certified so that she would be ready for any specific internship or job options that might come in. So you definitely have to accelerate. Okay, let me go to the poll 6 now and just try and give you another perspective of it. Okay, so let's look at these questions and understand if you were, some of you have not attended internship, but assume that you were going for an internship. You have these four categories. Let's understand your thoughts on what would be the most frustrating, the most difficult, nerve-wracking part of the internship. Good. Try and respond. Good. Thank you. Your responses are coming in. Yeah. Is it limited opportunity? Is it no selection? Is it no learning? Or is it no employment? Wow. It looks like it's quite balanced. It's, I'm sure different students will have different challenges, right? So it's important for us to be able to understand the challenge and then depending upon that, see how you would want to mitigate it. Yeah. In limited internship opportunities. Yeah, let me just pick this up before Garima ma'am closes it. See, internship opportunities are available, but the point is we have to be flexible, right? We cannot say, sir, मैं ये काम कर लूंगा या ये मैं काम कर लूंगी, sir, I will only do this, I cannot do this, sir, even if you don't pay me, I cannot come, right? All those things are sometimes not always possible. If you can get a paid internship, and if you can get an internship of your choice in terms of role, in terms of the company, in terms of the location, super. You guys are awesome. We'll definitely clap for you. Say good job. But if you don't, the best thing is to still go for the best out of the options you have. Okay, so even if you have limited opportunities, go for it. You'll definitely learn and gain a lot of experience. Yeah, and other things in terms of mechanisms, we will try to just cover as we go forward. Thank you, Garima ma'am. So that was definitely good. Okay, so as we go forward, let's quickly look at for a few seconds how to find college internships. Okay, and this is what I was talking to you as a strategy. The first question is, students, you don't need to copy anybody. किसी की नकल करने की जरूरत नहीं है. You just have to be your own self. Like, look at your thumbprint and ask yourself, is there anybody in this whole world of 7.2 or 3 billion people who has the same some thumbprint like mine? And I'm sure each one of you would look at the thumbprint and say, no, I'm unique. And that's what we want to encourage you, students. Each one of you is uniquely created and uniquely gifted. You have unique talents, and it is important for you to just understand yourself and be yourself as you make choices of what kind of college internship you want to go for. Definitely, you have to be practical. You have to pick up what you're having on your table and choose as you build yourself. You need to be open minded. As I was just saying, I use the word flexible. Be open to try out different things as long as you get an opportunity to pick up. Yeah. College internships are short, could be 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks. So make the best use of what you have. Okay, and always be ready for interviews. Anybody calls, um, people don't schedule interview call, they might just call. Always be ready to pick it up and try to lock yourself in an interview. Now, what are the places to look for in internships? Right, if you go to Google or you search around, I'm sure you will get a lot of links. Your friends would tell you, but these are seven most used internship sites that I could understand from various media as well as students, right? LinkedIn is number one, definitely. And it's always good to put in your profile, followed by Internshala and the rest of it. Number seven is one link that many of you would not be aware of. This is a global apprenticeship network, GAN. And if you look at the site, you can even take a small screenshot. You will definitely see not only local, when I say local, I mean regional opportunities. You also see a lot of global opportunities, right? So there's a lot of articles on skill development and how it is being merged with business demand. And it is very important for you to therefore connect and update your profiles as early as possible so that you're able to look for opportunity. And a couple of months before your internship starts, you should try and lock yourself. That definitely will be helpful as you spread the word around and look for internships. Okay, if you still have any specific questions on what type of internship, if you have more questions regarding what stream you should select, etc., etc., feel free to reach out to the counseling team in iDream Career, and we'll be very happy to help you. Okay, so we are always there to assist you, but it is for you to actually take the initiative and the ownership to ask and seek for help, and we'll be happy to help you. Okay, very, very quickly before I get into interviewing skills, just 7 tips of getting the most out. Okay, I will just give you a pause, and I'm not going to get into all these details. I'll just pick up one or two and just share some insight on these points. But after a short pause, I'll just wait for you to have a look at it and understand yourself. If you have any questions, feel free to put it on the chat box or on the question and answer window, and we'll be happy to answer. Just try and understand and absorb these 7 tips that you get from college internships. All these are important actions that you should be taking when you're doing your internships. Okay. And if you ask me, sir, what is that one thing that will be most important out of this? It will be number one, listen and learn. Keep listening, keep absorbing, keep learning. Okay. That will definitely be important for you to see how you fit in and where you fit in. And if you ask me one more thing, that will be the last one, visibility. Even when you are doing your internship, try to let others know that you're around and that you've done so much. Showcase your talents, showcase the certain results that you've done, so that people will know there is a person. Say, let me just take a name. Say, suppose you are Siddhant, for example, right? So everybody should know that there was and there is an intern by the name of Siddhant, and he actually was great. Okay, so create visibility and showcase. That's very important among all these things that I mentioned. Okay, now let's quickly go into acing interviews, which is the main topic. And this is very important as you look at the types of interviews. Okay, you could have telephonic interviews, you could have probably video interviews, which is online, which is currently in vogue. You might have individual or panel interviews, which is the traditional. And of course, there could be multiple interviews, one after another, starting with a functional evaluation and maybe even the HR person. Okay. And there would be some questions among those interviews that will be focused on putting you under stress and seeing your response. Okay. So, how do you understand? You'll ask me, how do we understand what interviews would be in place for internships? It's very simple. You will have to ask, right? Or you will have to search on the internet when you apply. The information will be there on what is the selection criteria, right? And if someone reaches back to you in response to your updation of your CV for internship, feel free to ask, feel free to understand, and also based on what they say, try to plan how you're going to be responding to these types of interviews, right? So if you fail to plan, you will plan to fail, as they say. So you're not going to be failing, are you? Definitely not. You want to be successful, and therefore it's important for you to plan ahead. Okay. Now there are three P's that are very important for interviews, and this is out of the many points that you would be already aware of. Preparation, number one. If you don't prepare properly, then you might be caught off guard. So you definitely need to prepare. And with Google and many other search engines, information is all out there. Okay. The perspective or the mindset in terms of what you're thinking is also very important for you, so that you're able to understand not only your perspective, but also the interviewer's perspective, right? So that's very important. And of course, the personality point of view, personality aspects are all important. And you know what? This time actually shows that there is a very short period within which the interviewee and the interviewer both come together and make a decision of whether to go forward in terms of selection or whether to reject and then go to the next option or the next candidate, right? So when there is a time pressure, it's very important for you to be preparing your responses and be very sharp in your responses, which would be a function of your qualification and experience, a function of your preparation, and how you are leveraging your personality to be able to present. Okay. So when time is short, be very crisp and clear. Okay, with that, let's just go for another poll question and understand your viewpoint on the modes of interview. So take it away from here. Let's hear your views on what mode is used for most interviews as you hear and see from friends around or maybe your own experience. Physical interviews, yes. But बच्चों आजकल online, right? So physical interviews are at a minimum now, right? So you will see more and more shifting towards phone or video interviews online. Even what we are doing now, right? There could have been an opportunity where we could even have a seminar in the IDC office, but we are doing it online, right? and all of us are in the comfort of our own locations, and very quickly we can log in and then finish the discussion and log off. Yeah. So physical interviews were very important at some point of time, but as we progress, we are seeing that this physical interview is being replaced by telephonic or video interviews. Yeah. So as we close, yeah, you guys are right. Physical interviews had a lot of prominence, but now it is moving towards phone and video. Phone, because you just need to have a conversation. And usually, what I've seen is in a policy, they say that there should be at least one video interview, which is a replacement of a face to face meeting. At least one video interview is what they will have. Okay, so we'll move forward, but keep this in mind that phone interviews and video interviews are very popular now. Okay, so let's just go forward to this question now. You're talking about phone interviews. So try and look at it. There's not a poll question, but look, read this, and you might want to just tell yourself what is that part which is mentioned here, which is not part of the phone interview. Okay, and I'm sure you would come back and say, sir, it is a handshake. Yeah. So fortunately or unfortunately, this is something that we miss, right? An opportunity to come face to face with the interviewer sitting across the table and asking, right? So this is something that is not part of a phone interview. It used to happen in physical interviews. But what it also means is the rest of the aspects are equally important, even if you can't see the person in a phone interview. So then what are the things that we will have to be careful of when we do phone interviews? The first one, and a very important one, is spend good time in building your resume. Okay, look at the one on the left side and look at the one on the right side. Do you see a difference? Of course, yes. In one shot, this is very crisp, this is very clear, it is organized properly. This is not very wordy as this is, but very clearly people can see the roles, the skill sets, the value, etc., etc. Right? So there are a lot of templates available, and there's help available if you can hone your resumes on an ongoing basis. Continue to keep it updated. If that is so, what else is important, right? Now, here we are talking about interview preparation. And if you look at the four aspects that we constantly say, you would have seen it elsewhere, but I can never undermine the importance of these four. Appearance is very, very important, right? So, what kind of appearance? Can I just go in a round neck t-shirt, or can I just go in smart in some casuals? Well, different organizations have different dress code. Okay, I went to Kerala to Tata Tea in the tea gardens, and you know what? I saw people interns coming in shorts. Okay, but then I saw another Tata organization when I used to work there in Mumbai, and there people used to come in formals with a tie also. So depending upon the type of industry and the type of organization, there might be a dress code. Okay, but if you're not clear about what dress code to use or be in when you go for an interview, best thing is to be conservative and use smart casuals. Okay, culture is the number two. The other C that is very important for you to understand. Is there a culture of being open? Does this office have a lot of people all in their cubicles and not talking to each other? Are they very conscious about senior people and junior people in terms of what we call as being level conscious? So these are all things which are important to be knowing from a culture. And how will that help you? That will actually help you to understand and respond in a way where you tell your interviewer that your culture is very similar. For example, in New Zealand, what I understand is there's a huge percentage that is kept for honesty. Honest, one of the least corrupt countries in the world. They focus on honesty. Now, in if you're looking at a company and wanting to work in a company that has New Zealanders or have a New Zealand as a base in terms of the headquarters, definitely honesty is something that they're going to be checking out in the interview, right? So very important to understand the culture. Okay. Also important for us to know, be conservative and also look at grooming. Okay. So there is no shortcut to planning, preparing, and performing. Okay, I'm also looking at internship phone tips. Okay, I'll just give 5 seconds here because we are running short of time, and so you can just pick up some of these points that are important, especially the one where you need to have a room without distractions, and also make sure that you have a notepad to be able to write. Okay, so let me just quickly open up 7 main techniques that should be kept in mind when you are looking at preparing for a phone interview, starting from good research, making sure that you're familiar with your CV and you have that as a reference material when you're speaking. Do a lot of mock interviews so that you practice and practice. Calls can come anytime. Okay. So if it comes to yourselves, please pick it up. Okay. Make sure that you're able to listen and take notes. Now you'll say, sir, मैं तो market में जा रहा था and दुकान पे कुछ ले रहा था. How can I pick up a call? Of course, you can take the call, especially if it's an unknown number and you don't know. It might be an interview call for which you had applied. Politely tell that person that you are in a position and not able to take calls, reschedule it, and then move forward. Okay, that is fair enough. Now, there would be in the interview questions, there would be many types of questions that will be asked. Tell us about yourself, strengths and weaknesses, standard questions that will be there. Keep in mind, it is just not the answers that they're looking at. What they're looking at is answers to these 3 things. Can this person do the job? Meaning capability. Will this person do the job? We're talking about availability. Is this person going to be available? Is he or she willing? And is this person going to be liking this job? Of course, likes are very important, right? So they will ask different questions as I showed you to be able to access this. So you should be very prepared in maybe even jotting down those answers to the standard questions. You'll have a lot of questions on internet. You just try to write answers and try to think, what am I trying to convey by these answers? And that will help you to frame and check your answers very well. Interview questions could be in terms of fitment, okay, could be in terms of skill sets. Hard skills are basically the technology skills or your technical skills. Soft skills are basically the skills which are more related to people in terms of interpersonal leadership skills, managerial skills, presentation skills, communication skills, and so on and so forth. Okay, so very important to understand if there are skill set questions. They will talk about your behaviors, wherein when you respond, you'll have to say, yes, sir, I know that I can do this because in my previous project or when I was doing a project in my college, I had a chance where my colleagues were not available and I was left alone. But I did not give up. And you can tell them what action you took and what result you got to be able to tell them, look, if that happens to you again, you will definitely do the job and complete it. Situational questions are another category of questions that might be asked. So it is very important for you to be prepared for the tough questions. Okay, so let's just go to the next poll and we'll see a little bit of tough questions before we come back to the Q&A. What is one thing that helps the most in phone interviews? Definitely, content is very important. Yes, of course. Etiquettes is basically the icing, right? If you put off the interviewer, that becomes very unattractive and inappropriate, and definitely gives reasons for the interviewer to reject you. Okay, let's just move on. So yes, definitely etiquettes and content is important. Now, there might be a situation where you would be asked, do you have any questions, Ramesh? Is there something that you want to know? And you could actually try and ask questions related to the roles or office structure in terms of what the team will look like, right? These are some of the things that you can ask. But you definitely, as I look into it, you definitely cannot ask, sir, how much salary will you give? Sir, will you tell me whether, can you tell me now whether I'm selected or not? There are many questions that are that should be a no-no. For example, you should not be interrupting the interviewer, meaning he's asked a question and as he's asking it, you interrupt and say, sir, I know I can answer you, right? So you need to be careful as you try to answer, as you listen to the questions first and then appropriately answer. So definitely having a pleasing personality, listening and responding after you're thinking are some of the important points when I'm just picking up the phone interviews. Okay, now let's just go to the video interviews and understand what incremental things, given that in the video your picture is also there, is important. Now keep in mind the video interview is equivalent to an in-person interview, right? So definitely you need to be making sure that you do a trial run, you have good technology to support you, your audio video gadgets are tried and tested, it's coming clear. Of course, you need to be professionally dressed and make sure that you are able to communicate to that area which is visible, you're able to communicate well. Okay, now out of all these 7 points that I wanted to talk about, again it's about not only setting the whole context, but making sure that you are able to have an eye contact and you're able to smile without any distractions as you speak to them. Try to explain in terms of showing enthusiasm and also good content when you're able to speak. Keep in mind in a video interview, what is there in front of you is not visible. So you can always put notice boards and you can put small notes here and there to help you, which I'm sure you would have done in advance as preparation. So if you do that, you can really do very well in video interviews. In fact, many times I realize video interviews for students is easier than physical, right? Because in the physical thing, there's many other things that are visible to you. Okay. Now, what do interviewers look forward in people who are looking for internship or employers? I think if there is one thing out of all this, again, what I will talk about is the ownership mindset, the last one. What is ownership mindset? It's basically saying that if a job is given to this person, he will or she will do it. If you give that kind of a mindset and talk about things that you have done before that show this, very easily you'll be able to convince the person that you are the right person on the job. Okay, so if there are tough questions that are being asked, okay, I will break those tough questions into these 4 categories, and this is my last slide as we go forward. In tough questions, you will have personality questions, you might have weakness questions, and there might questions be why are you moving on from one to another, or there could be some other questions about where you worked and what kind of a supervisor were you working in. Okay, so couple of things. One, never bad mouth, किसी के बारे में बुरा नहीं बोलेंगे हम, right? We will always say we had a learning experience, it was a tough situation but I was able to learn out of it, right? They might also ask you stress questions. Did you have any failure? Our suggestion will be just try to be honest and try to prepare and talk about some instance where you failed, did not deliver. It could be a short 2 hour work that you have to finish in 1 hour, and you tell them what you were able to do well and what you have learned out of it. Similarly, you'll be able to prepare questions that are very tricky. For example, as I gave you, if there's an animal you have to select, what animal will you select to represent yourself? Yeah. So always try to ask and think what exactly is this person wanting to know. And based on that, if you're prepared for these tough questions, it'll be easy for you to answer. There's a lot of material out there. And I'm sure if you prepare, put the questions and frame your answers, it will be very helpful for you to answer them. So with that, I will just take a pause and we'll let Garima ma'am pick up all the questions and we'll try our best to answer them.
Thank you, John. Thank you. So, to start with, I have Ishita Malik who has asked this question. If you could elaborate on what does visibility and showcase stand for?
Yeah, so Ishita, good question. Visibility is, say, assuming that you are actually doing an internship in an organization, right? So one way would be very quietly going there and doing your work and then going back. and not even letting anyone else know. Another could be that if there is a team meeting, you're part of it, right? You might be able to do create something and you can showcase it. For example, I remember where in a project in one of the biggest IT companies I was working with, we had a couple of interns who created charts. Okay, beautiful charts out of some discussions that were done, and they put in a lot of art and craft work on it, right? It's like more like a three-dimensional, and they put up the charts on the notice board and they wrote their names at the bottom, Ishita. And when that client also came in, they said, wow, look at this chart. It's so beautiful. Who's done it? And they saw a person, Ishita, at the bottom. And they said, can we call that person and understand? And they called the person, shook the hands, and said, good job. This is so nice. This is so bright. And we are so happy that these kind of visual displays are available, right? So, what did Ishita do, assuming that you were there? You created visibility for yourself, and people will always remember those visuals that were shown. Similarly, you can create by your participation visibility, so that people around will know that there is a person here who's bubbling with energy, ideas, and results. Okay, I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you, George. Going forward, while we are there in the session, I would just request all other students who are there watching us on YouTube, if you would have any questions to ask, please put them across on the chat box and we will take them up for you through the speaker. And for students who are there right now associated with us, maybe you can also put up your questions on the chat box. So
Sure.
we'll wait for just a minute or so and then move on to the next section.
So, Garima, should we wait for some questions or should I just share some insight?
I think you can share some insights. If we have additional questions coming in, I will let you know.
Okay, so students, as you pick up, look at this. I've just put up one word as we come to the close, right? Specialization, very important for each one of you to be called a specialist. So you have to work towards being called as a specialist. Okay. Say, for example, if you have a problem in your skin, right, and you go to the hospital, you will not go to any doctor, right? You'll go to a dermatologist, a skin specialist. In the same way, every person needs to have a specialization, which is three or four things together. It is skills plus industry knowledge plus understanding of technology. And if you had time, I would have asked you what exactly it is. But what I want to add to this is your own positive attitude. If you wear a very positive, a can-do attitude on your sleeve of your shirt, along with this SIT, you'll definitely have a good specialization and you will be sought after as you become part of the future workforce. Okay. You can also look at many organizations, and in there also you will see a lot of things about career. Okay, so let me just open one small site here because I used to work for this organization. And when you look at this organization, you'll see here there are home pages. In the home page, or there are pages where you will see a lot of things about internship and student opportunities. You can apply there, and before you apply, if you want to know more about it, you can also go and then click and find out all about various services these organizations are into, right? I used to work for Accenture, and I was very proud to work in the organization which focused so much on learning and development, right? And so if you look at these service verticals, you'll see the latest and the greatest on each of these topics, starting from digital commerce to cloud to automation and what have you. You can also look at industries, and you'll get to know all about different industries I was referring to. Okay, you can therefore look at different careers, right? You can talk about insights. So there's so much of information out there in the pages of various organizations that are at the cutting edge in terms of supporting people, supporting clients, bring the best out of people, and also bring the best of opportunity. So I would encourage you to go read as much, pick up as much as you can, so that you're able to understand how you can learn, listen, pick up internships, and be ready to take off and rotate yourself or rise to a new future that is waiting for you. So that would be very important, and that would be my closing remarks, Garima, as we wait for students for questions. I think, would you want to just share more about these, about iDream Career and the contact details?
Sure. Thank you so much. So I don't definitely see any further questions coming up. So firstly, George, thank you so much. I think it's been a fantastic, session here. Absolutely, some great insights for students to know and uh, get to know how to crack interview and eventually what is important, what they should be grooming in themselves, etc., etc. So great kudos to that, and thank you so much for such a valuable session.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for the students who are associated with us and watching us on YouTube right now, please do go ahead and go to idreamcareer.com. That's our website. I've also put in our website link on the chat box, the phone number, as well as our email ID, which is support@idreamcareer.com. If you would have any career counseling requirements, so we have multiple career counseling services for the students that we do. There is a Pathfinder package, there is Inform, there is Explore. There is also a complete college guidance program if you're looking at assistance to get into a particular college or university. So our extremely trained career counselors will help you achieve your dream career and get into, help you with the right subjects and choices that you would want to target for yourself, and even help you understand all this through a psychometric assessment test to analyze your capability and capacity first. So, in addition, there is also IDX education. So, our website idx.education is also there. Right now, we have the Young Entrepreneur Program, which is live. So, just in case any of you who is a budding entrepreneur looking at, understanding what it really takes to become an entrepreneur, maybe understand what product and services, how do you market it, how do you sell it, create business plans, create financial models, and then eventually get an opportunity to pitch it to the investors, win an opportunity again to have a seed funding of 10,000 rupees, and also Amazon web server credits for good amount. And eventually, if you are also looking to enroll into this program, do visit idx.education. So please do share this session, weekly career class, with all your friends, with people who would be interested to understand more about this topic. Next week on the 17th, we have one upcoming on the overseas orientation, to tell you about what it takes to get into study abroad, any do's and don'ts that you should keep in mind, an introduction session to help you understand that if you're planning your career for study abroad, then what is it that you should be knowing about. So that's it from our end as on today. Please stay tuned. Do follow us on Instagram. We do a lot of contests over there, a lot of activities going on Instagram. Keep checking our YouTube channel for any upcoming webinars and sessions and classes that we do. So thank you so much, George. It's been a pleasure, and thank you all the students who joined us today. Have a great evening and a great Sunday tomorrow.
Great. Thank you very much, all of you. A big clap. The world is waiting for you, and have fun. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.